Do you consider why you ask questions in your teaching? Have you considered how they impact on students' thinking, responding, and learning? How much of their comprehension can you confirm from your questioning? Are you designing pre-planned questions for students? Do you stick with the questions planned or adapt to incorporate additional questions as learning progresses? Let's explore how transforming questioning can improve learning outcomes and overhaul the learning process for students. The idea of questioning and how beneficial it is in teaching and learning has been around for a significant amount of time. In fact, it becomes more apparent through exploration the importance it occupies in understanding the learners and their learning process. Questioning aids in reducing information being lost in translation and addressing misconceptions when and where they may arise, as well as taking learning to various depths of cognition. Managing and balancing questioning to achieve maximum impact is a vital process of every exposition. Questioning and exceptional questioning techniques are hallmarks of quality teaching and learning. Questions can serve several different purposes. Questions can be asked for clarification, for probing assumptions, for probing reasons and evidence, investigating viewpoints and perspectives, for probing implication and consequences, and questions can be asked about questions and assessing idea relevance. It is up to the teacher to determine what they are aiming to achieve from the type and root of questions that they are asking their students in any learning conversations, whether it is for a whole class, small groups, or in one-to-one conversations. When asking questions for clarification, the person asking the question is seeking to understand the other person's statements or assertion, and is therefore exploring the justification behind it, as well as ruling out misinterpretation of what was intended. This could be achieved by zooming in on specifics with category questions such as, why do you say that? Can it ever be right to kill a child? Do you agree with what X just said? Why is that? Another way of gaining clarity is by asking distanced questions, such as, why might someone think? How do you feel X arrived at that suggestion? When probing assumptions, it is the aim to identify the impact different assumptions have on the outcomes. This can be achieved by asking criteria questions such as, how can you tell if the car was going faster in section A? When is it right to go to war? Is that statement always, sometimes, or never true? What other assumptions could be or have been made? Another approach is hypothesizing questions, such as, if there were no world wars, would the global landscape remain the same? What would change if there were no seas? How would having no internet impact our social infrastructure? Probing reasons and evidence is seeking to find the understanding behind what students consider to be true or valid and determining what supporting evidence they have for their reasons. One approach to achieving this is asking deliberation questions such as, what would be an example? What do you feel is the reason for that? Should we give more to charity? Another approach is using definition questions such as, how can you explain to another classmate what is equality? How is it different to equity? The assessment of viewpoints and perspective is often seeking clarification in opinions hinged on some substantiating evidence. The approaches for achieving this is through identity questions such as, what makes something the same as or different to X? How are they similar? What are the differences? Another approach is comparison questions such as, which is more or less? Which is more important? What is another way to look at it? How else can it be done? Understanding the implication and the consequences are important. These can be explored further through preference questions such as, would you rather having fame or money? Which is more exotic, holidaying in the Mediterranean, Australasia, or the Caribbean? It can also be achieved using distinction questions such as, what's the difference between being rich and being financially independent? How will that change affect the outcome? Sometimes it is important to determine the relevance of information shared and utilize opportunistic questions to arrive at a suitable answer. One approach to achieving this is by using advice questions such as, should C do D? Should children have the right to vote? Another approach is to use evaluation questions such as, what was the point of this question? How are the two questions different? Using a range of question stems spark interest in learners and is a good strategy for creating conversations. It is important that excellent thinking goes into developing and framing questions. It is also important to listen for points from which questions can be crafted. The idea of more creativity in questioning is to foster more engaging arguments that are a pleasure to be a part of for students and teachers alike. It is also to develop sequential, logical, strategic, and critical thinking skills in all learners. How will you use these questioning techniques in your learning environment?